Yeah, today topic is business rule. Actually,
Mm.
business rule is a server-side script which will interact with the database, will give the result. Like in the database operations, like inserting the record, updating the record, deleting the record, when you are querying the records. So these are the business rules. So in that business rules, there are four types. One is a before and after business rule, and a async business rule, and display business rule. So when we are going for that before business rule, before submitting the form, you want to some operations like when prior, suppose in the priority is critical update to into that form information in that some custom field set we need to do for that. So at that time, so in that before side, so this will use for that same table side we should perform. So in that after business rule means when you are performing, then after submitting the form and after action is taken. So in that, when we are using for that, for example, incident table to that some kind of problem table side. So we should do for that particular different table side some related objects kind of activities we should do for that. So that is the major thing we should do for that after business rule side. The same kind of like a async business rule. So in that async business rule side, so we can it is kind of same activities after business rule, but it will take some time to do that operations in that. So for example, when we are going for that ATM, so ATM when we are withdraw the money from that ATM side, it is regarding that initially, the card is reading, then later checking that account number and name, later money withdrawal process and trigger that message and email notification process should take time. So that is the async business rule. So when we are doing for that, so these are the operations in that async business rule side we should do for that. So the same asynchronous means there is a executes when we are doing for that runs in the background side, so user doesn't wait for that, so improve the performance and user experience side we can use for that. So the same kind of synchronous side, suppose executes line by line, so when the user and system waits for that until task is complete. Suppose there is a faster and small operations can do for that, so in that UI is a heavy processing load is involved in that, but we should faster performance like a form validations, mandatory check things, so immediate some kind of calculations that we can do for that synchronous kind of stuff. So in that asynchronous side, whatever user experience we should give for that particular performance wise, we should give. So in that, when we are fetches the data from that server side, we can simply use for that. So the same kind of display business rule. So this was a server side information to that particular client side. So in that majorly we can use G underscore scratch pad variable. So in that out of the box object. So when the present on the client and server side. So for passing information from that server to client without using. So previously we should discuss now. So glide ajax call. So if there is any high chance that you will need to that particular data from server to client. So on that case, we should use for that G underscore scratch pad. So majorly when you want to that particular user manager, particular kind of location, number of tickets assigned to that particular manager side. So at that time only we can use for that. This is the G underscore scratch pad in the display business rule side, server side, how it will work for that we can use. So initially when we are going for the business rule side, so filter navigation, business rules, under system definition, when we are click on new, suppose in the business rule side, name, application, table, uh, whichever table name side we should configure over there, we can in the table side, we can configure in the table side. So active means, so whichever operation we want to do perform. So if enable true active, so that business rule only will work on that particular farm side or whichever operations that we are perform. So like in that specify for that insert or update. So those kind of activities we can do for that based on that filter conditions like some kind of active or some kind of whichever form fields is there. So those condition we should add over here. Actions. So if you want to add message, so here whichever message, suppose some kind of please populate. So this kind of activities, whichever message we should pass in here. So we should pass that particular message. So same kind of set the field values. So when suppose when we are doing that business rule in that server side script that runs when the record is displayed, insert or deleted, when the table is queried. So for that performance only, when we are enable true of advanced only, we are got that tab advanced. So in that we can see for that particular whichever script side operations, and here when to run side. So previously it is not there. When we are click on the advanced side, so when means before, after, async, display. So these are the four types will be work on that. So if you want to particular delete and query performance side, we can use for that those enable true it is. Suppose we have a finance management, right? Yes, see here. So active is true. So when the active is true only, we should able to perform. So before that, should insert. We should add table name as well as populate information finance record. So u underscore finance underscore management side. This is that. So when the active is true, in the update also we should mention in that action side. Suppose active to true. So then later we'll discuss on this. Shall we should populate that particular populate. Please. Summarize short description. So click on save. So just we can just click on able tutor. I will mention location. Yeah, see here. Please populate the before description to be summarized as short description. So this is the message we are passes over here. So that is the displayed. Suppose when we are clicking on the advanced, we should select as a before. So insert and update, keep it as the same like that. In that, we should perform. Suppose some kind of glide form that client side we can do for that operations. So whichever we previously discussed G underscore form. So glide systems in that server side GS and then whichever current is there now current and previous. So like a current means so whichever current task is there we should perform on that. So previous then whichever current table of that previous values. So this is the major thing we should perform.